he does bring up a nice thing about seasons.
Yeah.
That is kind of something that you've probably seen with the last thing we did was the Elder God Wars, and that was kind of chunk of content, I guess is the best way to put it, where it was all kind of building together and working together. Now that was more grand scale. For this year we have the Forthrinthy, and we're kind of doing a similar thing with that, where it's this kind of seasonal thing where it's all of these stuff kind of building off each other and working together. Like the fort is a great platform for this, I find, because like obviously it's going to be building up and there's going to be new like places included in it, new buildings and stuff.
Yeah.
But things are going to be building up on top of it.
In 2022, we had our first one-year cycle storyline with the Legacy of Zamorak, and it is now followed up with the Fort of Forthrinthy. Is this the right new approach, these one-year cycles of lore and everything themed around it, or are Jagex making a grave error? Well, let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on guys? My name is Chevalric, and today I want to be talking about the one-year thematic approach that recently Jagex has introduced, well, as of last year, with the Legacy of Zamorak, and this year with the Fort of Forthrinthy, where pretty much everything revolves around this one type of storyline, from quests to skilling updates to bosses to literally everything that pretty much releases in that year. And if that is the right approach, I recently had a discussion with this with my friend Let's Discuss the Rest, the guy that I do the podcast with, and Jagex Azana, the community manager of Runescape. I will link the full episode in the description down below. But pretty much, we talked about how this is the new approach of Jagex, where they're going to be having this one thematic approach to a year, and then the next year they're either building on top of it or just going a completely different, separate way, depending on how the stories go. At least that's how I interpreted it. So let me know in the comment section below. Do you like this new approach? Do you like it? How we're now just having one set storyline where everything, like literally everything, is based around, from, as I said, Yaktrax, quest, bosses, MTX, whatever. Or would you prefer it just to be like a random quest here, a random boss there, whatever? Like, what is your preference? Because that's kind of what it felt like back in the day, and it had some charm to it. But is it still up to standard, or should they change something? Well, let me know in the comment section down below. Leave a like as well, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, just get into the video. So, pretty much, let's talk about it, right? Because quite frankly, right now we're having the Fort of Forthrinthy, and I think at this moment in time, it is not that exciting. I like the fort, and I think the fort on its own is a great piece of content. Don't get me wrong at all. I think it's great for skilling, and already on double experience, and was it double experience? At least I just saw a move during Yaktrack on it, but I'm pretty sure it was during double experience as well, right? Where it was just packed. Like, I've seen it packed multiple times with just people skilling there, and it becoming the new skilling hub, as I predicted in one of my videos. And I love that, because World 84 Lumbridge Market, besides it just looking ugly, it is also something that just didn't make sense. And this area being built for kind of skilling and build around, if you train there, you get some extra benefits with getting bonus experience or extra experience when you do cooking there now, etc, etc. I think it's good. I think it's nice, and it's kind of the War's Retreat for skilling. And I'm glad that it turned out to be that. So I think the fort on its own, there's nothing bad with it. I just don't think that the storyline around it is too exciting just yet. But yet again, we're at the first 3 months of this storyline, and there's probably 2 more quests, or maybe even 3 more quests coming in the future that might discuss this, and maybe necromancy will be fully linked into this fort and making it incredibly exciting, besides what the fort already has to offer on its own. Who knows? No one does. Well, Jagex does, but I have no idea. And it is something we just have to wait and see. I think we can judge it fully at the end of the year, and I'll probably do a full-on review. But overall, I think it is a good approach to have a full set storyline, because you kind of know what's going to be happening without it being fully spoiled, if that makes any sense. Because sure, it is nice to have a complete surprise of like, oh, let's have this quest, and then have this random other quest with the dwarves, or then have a quest with the elves, and then have this, and then it all being tied together, like how it was with Slisk Endgame, which was sick. And I'm not claiming to be a lore hound, but from what I've just understood by just watching cinematics, it is amazing how they tied everything together. But pretty much everything was tied together, if that makes any sense. I know there are some unfinished storylines within Runescape, don't get me wrong, but pretty much the main storylines that people care for and the main factions, etc., were all tied together with Slisk Endgame, and I guess with the Elder God Wars story that came afterwards. So there's not much to tie together anymore, because there's not enough lore, or maybe there is and I'm completely mistaken, but there's not enough lore to just make a full-on overlapping world arc like we had with Slisk Endgame. Because I think that might have been the peak of RuneScape storytelling, and we might never ever get back to it. But that is just lore. I just think that it's good as well to have some more thematic approaches to bosses as well. Because look at last year, right, with Zamorak. There was this whole build-up with quests and with everything revolving around it being hyped up, and with like the dungeon being shown, and you know, the concept of the dungeon coming back from like quests that you've done, and just everything just coming together in just this one epic boss fight against Zamorak. I thought it was really, really cool, and it gave some more, I don't know, depth to otherwise just a boss fight. Even if you, like myself, are just a spacebar warrior, I felt like Zamorak felt more lore rich than the majority of bosses from just a casual point of view. I know there's a lot of lore around Solak and other bosses as well, but overall, this is just something I felt like I got because, well, it's been in this storyline for a long time with Extinction, with all the gods being gone, etc. And this being a part of that, us beating Zamorak and Zamorak going his own way because he didn't want to protect the eggs, etc. etc. That's just what I gathered from just watching the cutscenes and not even reading a single line of dialogue, right? And I think that is sick, and that made the boss fight feel more rewarding. So I like the thematic approach for it, but where does it have to go? Because this, I felt like the Legacy of Zamorak, at least, is kind of like a afterthought, or not the, I don't think afterthought is the right word, right? But like a continuation onto Slisk's endgame and Extinction and everything, like the Elder God Wars storyline that pretty much was set up by Slisk's storyline, right? And it wasn't really its standalone thing. And now with the Fort, we do have a standalone thing. And we still have to wait and see, as I said, to see where it goes and what it evolves into. Because I feel like if Jagex does this right, and the team, I mean, is very talented. At least with the art direction, it is very, very, it looks amazing. And I think with everything right now, it makes sense with what has already been presented. And I have faith in the current team. And I know that's something very controversial to say, but I think they can make it into something great. I know the lore experts are really a bit concerned with where the lore is going, because one of the lead lore people has been gone for like a few years. I think it's Mod Raven. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And people don't like this new direction. But from a casual point of view, it feels very well put together, and it feels very like tight knit and like one whole thing, right? So we'll have to wait to see. And if they do it right, I think it could be awesome, because Jagex has hinted to a new boss coming this year, and if it somehow ties into this fort, that would be incredible. Maybe something that is in the wilderness where, you know, you need to stop it, because otherwise it will be attacking your fort and going into the mainland. Who knows? Or, as I said earlier, them tying in necromancy somehow. I'm no expert, but that could probably be done, right? But what is the future of this, right? We have this storyline, but what can we expect in the future? Well, there is a fan suggestion by Vernick, which I will link in the description down below, because this is just incredible. And I feel like it deserves its own video, and I might do it. But he pretty much made a storyline conception, and I'll flash some images on screen, right? With the use of the Vampirium questline, because apparently it has not been finished. I thought it was finished, but pretty much he calls it the New Moon Order, a RuneScape season. So kind of like how we have Fort of Fortntree. And if you just read through it, it has quests, it has some skilling things where there's a bit of a rework to agility, where he suggests something like Sepulchre from old school RuneScape, which is a interactive type of agility course where you get some rewards from it, but kind of like in the theme of the werewolf agility course. Even something like flesh events, but then in Mauritania, like how we have in the wilderness, but then in Mauritania with its own rewards. And in the quest line, we meet this guy called Jared, and he's like a big bad guy that we need to beat. And then we need to actually fight him after the quest has been set up for it. Then there's more quests, and then there's going to be a dig site to uncover even more lore. And then he suggests something like Hunter Skilling, which is a plus 99 Hunter activity, taking a Blood Gorge piece with the new big game Hunter mechanics and expanding on what has already been set on Anachronia, but doing it with Vampirium things and werewolves and stuff. I think that is really, really great. And more quests, of course. I'm just going through it whilst I'm talking to you guys about it. Like, I really recommend you guys reading this entire thread on your own. And if you really want me to, I can make an entire detailed video on it. And I will definitely ask Vernick's permission for it as well. And even for using this video. So if you see this, well, he gave permission, right? Or maybe I could contact. We'll see. And then there is apparently a true heir of Vampirium that we need to fight as this final boss fight, kind of like on the level of Zamorak, and that tying into like a Halloween event, because, well, Mortain is kind of Halloweeny, right? And then even something relating to Clue Scrolls. There hasn't been anything Clue Scroll related for a long time, and ending it off with a quest. I think something like this would be so amazing. Like, literally, if you read through this, which I did on stream, link in the description, by the way, I'm live every single day at 6 p.m. I got so excited, and I was literally like, can we just get this in the game? And it is not something Jagex would directly like put into the game from this event suggestion, but it is something they're aware of, and they are something that they have seen and that they know that, hey, this is actually something that sounds cool and people are excited about. They might not use this storyline, but they might look at the concept and be like, hey, people find this cool and find this interesting, right? Maybe we should do something with it. And I think that is great, and I think that is a video on its own, the new approach where they are seemingly listening to the feedback of the community. But hey ho, let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think about the seasonal approach of RuneScape? Do you like it? Do you hate it? What do you think about it? And what do you think about this idea? Let me know in the comment section down below, and like the video if you did enjoy this as well. Subscribe if you're new, and my name is Chevalric, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Goodbye.